Explosions, both natural and man-made, have caused awe and terror for centuries. Here are some of the most powerful explosions the world has ever seen. Top of the list is Texas City Disaster. The 1947 Texas City Disaster was an industrial accident that occurred on April 16, 1947, in the port of Texas City, located in Galveston Bay. The explosion was triggered by a mid-morning fire on board the French-registered vessel SS Grand Camp, which detonated her cargo of about 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate, ultimately killing at least 581 people, including all but one member of Texas City's volunteer fire department. April 16, 1947, at 9:12 a.m. Grand Camp detonated. The tremendous blast produced a 15-foot shockwave, leveling nearly 1,000 buildings on land. Among the buildings destroyed was a Monsanto chemical company plant, killing 145 of its 450 workers. Flying shrapnel resulted in ignition of refineries and chemical tanks along the waterfront. Falling bales of burning twine from Grand Camp's cargo added to the damage, and her anchor was hurled across the city. 2 sightseeing airplanes flying nearby were blown out of the sky. 12 hours later, High Flyer exploded, killing 2 more people. According to witnesses, the explosion was more powerful than that of Grand Camp. Coming up next is Halifax Explosion. On the morning of the 6th of December 1917, the French cargo ship SS Mont Blanc collided with the Norwegian vessel SS IMO in the waters of Halifax. The Mont Blanc, laden with high explosives, caught fire and exploded, devastating the Richmond district of Halifax. At least 1,782 people were killed, largely in Halifax and Dartmouth, by the blast, debris, fires, or collapsed buildings, and an estimated 9,000 others were injured. The blast was the largest human-made explosion at the time. It released the equivalent energy of roughly 2.9 kilotons of TNT. The ship was completely blown apart and a powerful blast wave radiated away from the explosion, initially at more than 1,000 meters per second. Temperatures of 5,000 degrees Celsius and pressures of thousands of atmospheres accompanied the moment of detonation at the center of the explosion. White-hot shards of iron fell down upon Halifax and Dartmouth. Mont Blanc's forward 90mm gun landed approximately 5.6 kilometers north of the explosion site near Albro Lake in Dartmouth, with its barrel bent and half torn away by the force of the blast. And the shank of Mont Blanc's anchor, weighing half a ton, landed 3.2 kilometers south at Armdale. A cloud of white smoke rose to at least 3,600 meters. Hundreds of people who had been watching the fire from their homes were blinded when the blast wave shattered the windows in front of them. Coming up next is Chernobyl Disaster. The Chernobyl Disaster was a nuclear accident that occurred on the 26th of April 1986 at the No. 4 reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, near the city of Pripyat in the north of the Ukrainian SSR in the Soviet Union. Called the world's worst ever civil nuclear incident, it is one of only 2 nuclear energy accidents rated at 7, the maximum severity, on the International Nuclear Event Scale, the other being the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. When the reactor power had decreased and the scram continued, the reactor output jumped to around 30,000 MW thermal, 10 times its normal operational output, the indicated last reading on the power meter on the control panel. Explosive steam pressure from the damaged fuel channels escaping into the reactor's exterior cooling structure that caused the first explosion. A second, more powerful explosion occurred about 2 or 3 seconds after the first. This explosion dispersed the damaged core and effectively terminated the nuclear chain reaction. According to observers outside Unit 4, burning lumps of material and sparks shot into the air above the reactor. Some of them fell onto the roof of the machine hall and started a fire. The air outside ignited the hot graphite and started a graphite fire. Last on this list is Trinity Blast. Trinity was the code name of the first detonation of a nuclear weapon. It was conducted by the United States Army at 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, as part of the Manhattan Project. The test was conducted in the Jornada del Muerto Desert about 35 miles southeast of Socorro, New Mexico, on what was then the Alamogordo Bombing and Gunnery Range, now part of White Sands Missile Range. The only structures originally in the vicinity were the McDonald Ranch House. The fireball of the conventional explosion was visible from Alamogordo Army Airfield 60 miles away, but there was little shock at the base camp 10 miles. The term gadget was a laboratory euphemism for a bomb, from which the laboratory's Weapon Physics Division, G Division, took its name in August 1944. The roar of the shock wave took 40 seconds to reach the observers. It was felt over 100 miles away, and the mushroom cloud reached 7.5 miles in height. That's all for today. See you in another video.